By now you know that food shortages and price hikes are a result of corrupt government and globalisation. But is Bill Gates involved? Of course he bloody well is. Hello there, you 5.7 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage towards truth, a collaborative project in which we must all participate to bring about new glories. If you don't subscribe yet, subscribe right now and turn on that old clanging notification bell so you're informed of our daily videos and you don't miss anything that we do, and we don't miss the opportunity to read your comments, which I always do. Comment below. Tell me what you think about this video, whether or not you like it. Now, you've noticed everything's much more expensive, haven't you? Oh yeah, it's Putin's fault, it's Trump's fault. Is it though? Are people making profits somewhere? Yes, they bloody well are. Is Bill Gates going to turn up in this story at some point? You better believe it, baby. Let's get into it. The baby formula scarcity began when the COVID-19 pandemic led to a disruption of ingredient supply chains and transportation delays. Then, this past February, the Food and Drug Administration found that several leading brands produced by Abbott Laboratories were contaminated with dangerous bacteria, leading to a recall and a temporary closure of Abbott's main Michigan factory, where government inspectors found shocking conditions. Ah! The conditions! Then, just as the Michigan plant reopened, torrential flooding forced it to shut down again. Ah! Flooding! Listen, should we not make baby formula? I didn't realise it was going to be so fucking dangerous. The shortage has driven prices up. There's a simple reason why such a shortage has transpired: global capitalism and the food monopolies it's fostered. Although store shelves, when fully stocked, appear to offer a wide variety of baby formula products, some with different name brands, only 2 companies produce more than 70% of these products. A small handful of factories, Abbott and Mead Johnson. A third company, Nestle, produces about 12%. Don't get into them guys. Therefore, when Abbott shuttered its Michigan plant, that single closure affected a very significant portion of the nation's stock of formula. The US government has encouraged this monopoly by choosing to buy formula from Abbott alone. It's the definition of putting all one's eggs in one basket. If that basket breaks, a shortage of eggs is never... I don't know what that metaphor means. You have to explain what that means. Okay, so to save baskets, we're going to put all our eggs in this one. What happens if the basket breaks? I don't know. I've never thought about it. And it's not just baby formula. In the US market, only 3 companies produce 81% of all baby food products. 4 companies produce 85.4% of all canned tuna. 3 companies make 78% of all pasta products, and so on. Right, so monopolization is a part of capitalism. It's an inevitable component of it. As power increases, as success grows, centralization is inevitable. All right, I get it. I understand that now. Once we understand that, we have to recognize that there will be people at the top of some hierarchical structure, some pyramid or elites or organizations or institutions that benefit and then can double down on their power through lobbying and manipulating regulation and all that kind of stuff. But what we have to keep an eye on, difficult though it might be, is what's best for you and your family, heaven forfend, you and your baby. Wouldn't it be better if your needs were met locally, collectively, if you had some democratic control over your community and your resources, trading only when necessary? All these things are possible. The whole of the United States is held to ransom by a handful of food companies. If you're a person that eats food, you are beholden to these 5 companies, unless you're super rich and eat only organic stuff and all that kind of thing, which is better for you and which is how everyone should bloody well live. It's becoming increasingly obvious that will be a better model. Localism, growing, producing food locally, not travelling all around the world so a couple of people can make a fortune out of it and they can't even keep a baby food factory safe. Now, food prices overall are sharply rising this year as inflation hits grocery suppliers. In response, manufacturers are engaging in shrinkflation, a form of theft. I can't just make up a stupid word. Help! Help! Shrinkflation! My pen's been shrinkflated! What do you mean? It's been shrunk away into that bastard's pocket! Do you notice how the powerful master the creation of new glossaries? Lobbying! What's lobbying? Lobbying's bribing people to do what you want them to. And then shrinkflation. Hey, it's just a little shrinkflation. Where's my money? It got shrinkflated. Shrinking package sizes while maintaining the same price so as to dupe customers into believing they're paying the same amount. Someone said this at a meeting somewhere. What if we just gave them less stuff for the same money? Well, that would be... Yeah, let's do that. Meanwhile, big food manufacturers are reaping record profits. So what? Undermining claims that they're simply passing on their higher costs to customers. They're lying! It's not undermined it, it's proved it. Decades ago, food policy analysts warned of the pitfalls of food monopolies, such as Vandana Shiva, friend of the show, author of the book Stolen Harvest, The Hijacking of the Global Food Supply, and Raj Patel, author of the book Stuffed and Starved, The Hidden Battle for the World Food System. Both Shiva and Patel linked the profits of the world world's wealthiest food corporations to the plight of the world's poorest farmers, and pointed out that in the relentless corporate drive to lower costs and maximise profits, food supply chains were consolidating and becoming more vulnerable to disruptions. A year ago, Food and Water Watch warned the federal government of the looming food crisis in the US, and saying that the only solution to creating a sustainable food future was to break up the corporate food monopolies. That would be good for everybody in America. Is there anyone it wouldn't be good for? Well, God, I suppose it would decrease marginally the profits of the most powerful food monopoly companies. Yeah, we're not fucking doing it. The organisation recommended the federal government ban the expansion of factory farms, place a moratorium on food corporate mergers, and invest in small, organic and sustainable farming systems. Localism, collectivism, harmony with nature, harmony with your environment, ideas that are sort of a part of our grandparents' DNA, part of our heritage, part of our traditions. They're plain common sense. But who do they fly in the face of? The most powerful interests in the world. So these ideas are never allowed to be investigated, explored, instantiated. They can only ever happen if we stand together and demand them. On one end of the food chain, there are starving farmers. Yeah, fuck 'em. And on the other end, there are starving families. Yeah, fuck 'em, including babies. Fuck 'em. In the middle are a handful of fat cats. Are these fat cats okay? Are they too fat? Could they be fatter? Massive corporations like Abbott and Cargill that keep getting fatter. As is the case with most economic problems that can be traced back to corporate greed, the solutions are simple and can be easily enacted if there's a political will to do so. Important sentence. The Biden-Harris administration claims to understand the problem and the solution. For example, in a January 2022 fact sheet about the meat industry, the White House released its plan for a fairer, more competitive and more resilient meat and poultry supply chain, in which it acknowledged problems such as how 4 large meatpacking companies control 85% of the beef market. But the administration's solution to the problem of food monopolies did not even touch upon preventing mergers. Instead, it announced a toothless portal. That sounds like an anus. A toothless portal for reporting concerns about potential violations of the competition laws. There are many injustices that will lead to the starvation of babies. Well, don't tell me. Tell the toothless portal. What seems to be the problem? Is there something I could do? Is there somebody I could gum on the arm? I'll gum you so hard on the arm! Most of us, when we think of a toothless portal, can only think of one good use for it. And that's what those food companies are doing to it. In the meantime, what are formula feeding parents to do in order to feed their babies? Is this a toothless portal we can talk to? Can I help you with your babies? Now that corporate food monopolies are impacting the most vulnerable human beings in our society, babies, will government take drastic measures to break them up? Of course not. So how does this process of monopolisation happen? Let's just look at an adjacent issue. Who controls farmland, agricultural spaces where food may be grown or tended to? Bill Gates is the largest private owner of farmland in the US. His just names keeps cropping up. Imagine if this was a detective story. Okay, so who's funding all of these media operations? It's Bill Gates. Oh, so who is it that's lobbying for these medicines to be used worldwide? It's Bill Gates. Oh, okay then. So who owns all that farmland? Is it Bill Gates? Yeah, it's Bill Gates. A 2018 purchase of 14,500 acres of prime eastern Washington farmland, which is traditional Yakima territory, for $171 million, helped him get that title. In total, Gates owns approximately 242,000 acres of farmland, with assets totaling more than $690 million. To put that in perspective, that's nearly the size of Hong Kong. And just so you know, that Yakima territory is sacred. That makes it all the more valuable. Like wealth, land ownership is becoming concentrated into fewer and fewer hands, resulting in a greater push for monocultures and more intensive industrial farming techniques to generate greater returns. We are told that our economic models and our financial ideals are leading to better and better service for us, the customers. That's what we are. We're customers and we're consumers. But as it says here, the centralization of land ownership means a greater push for monocultures and more intensive industrial farming techniques. This leads to a worse quality of food. So the food monopolies have monetary control over the prices. If you've got a monopoly, you control the prices. That's what it means. And the agricultural centralization means dietary control. Everywhere you look in your life, you will see greater encroachment from these corporate and financial powers. More control through big tech, more control through diet, more control through pricing, until you have no control in your own life. So you're just a tiny little pipsqueak mouse with nowhere to go. Help me! Won't someone please help me? Would you like to speak to a toothless portal? Oh, I suppose so. How can I help? Oh, just a quick one. 1% of the world's farms control 70% of the world's farmlands, one report found. The biggest shift in recent years from small to big farms was in the US. The principal danger of private farmland owners like Bill Gates is not their professed support of sustainable agriculture, often found in their philanthropic work, it's the monopolistic role they play in determining our food systems and land use patterns. On one hand, you have people speaking publicly about their philanthropic intentions, about how to save the world and how they're going to help. And then on the other hand, which they talk about less publicly, they're buying up hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland that may or may not belong to indigenous people and have sacred value as well as economic value, although that's not the sort of thing that's generally considered. So the process of monopolisation essentially means the greater and greater centralisation of control. If control is becoming centralised, if power and influence are becoming centralised and profits are increasing, do you imagine there's a connection between those two phenomena? Or are we to assume that price hikes and food shortages are all as a result of some abstract idea that's nothing to do with the increased centralised power of the monopolies, whether in food production or agriculture, that we've just described? And wouldn't you like to see these practices regulated, prevented, these monopolies broken up? It's possible. It's all possible. These are the news stories that you're not told. These are the stories we should be reflecting on. These are the kind of policies we should be supporting and demanding. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give this video a like. Tell us what other stories you'd like to hear. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these two and sign up to my mailing list. There I can talk about stuff I'd never dream of talking about on this channel or this kind of platform. We do live Zoom calls every week. There's fantastic stuff going on there. Sign up now. But more important than any of that, please stay free.